Here we go. It is podcasting time. We're coming to you from the PowerWorks garage. It is the PowerWorks podcast. We're talking cars. I'm James Piecowye. He is
Glenn Power.
For the next hour, you've got us. If you're listening to us on 100.3 Talk Radio here in Dubai, hi. You're on a Spotify, you're on Google, YouTube, whatever platform you're listening to us on. Great to have you along, and we look forward to getting questions from you as well, please. Look forward to your comments, and generally really happy to have you joining us on this conversation. So welcome.
My eyes are streaming from that Tiger Bomb.
So Glenn comes in here. We're in the pop-up studio in the garage. So, of course, if you hear horns, if you hear, I don't know, impact guns.
Yeah.
Cars compressed air cars revving. That's why.
Sometimes a little bit of effing and jeffing out there, DJs there, don't forget. So
so you never know. So we, if you hear stuff, that's because we are coming from the garage. And look, I want to remind everyone what the purpose of this show is. It's not just for Glenn and I to have a chat, although that would be purpose enough. It's really to help demystify the automotive industry, help demystify whatever it is you're driving or being driven around in, so that when you need to go get it repaired, when you need to talk about it to somebody, you have at least the basic knowledge to not be misled.
Yeah.
And that's our goal. That's it. And along the way, to have some fun and to keep you entertained and to get you laughing and thinking and create a few cubicle bombs so that you can share something with at the water break and the coffee break and the smoke break or whatever it is. Yeah. So that's the purpose. So glad you're here. Coming in this morning, two things happen. First of all, I get into the old Wrangler. I'm loading everything in, and I'm ready to pull away. And I look in the back seat and realize, oh yeah, I forgot the studio.
No, well, ideal.
You know, I as you know, I travel heavy, so I've got all sorts of bags. The one that has all of the equipment in it,
the one that you need,
is still in the house. It's like would have been recording on our phones.
Done that before.
Yeah, we've done that before, so that worked out. And the reason this becomes important that I forgot the equipment is because that just adds minutes to the departure from home, which means that I have to navigate a minute later in traffic, which anyone who commutes anywhere in the world knows that you've got it down to a fine art of when you need to leave so that you hit all of the key points in the traffic blockages so that you're going to make it to where you're going if everything is working smoothly. So it worked out well today, though. Still
done it well.
There must have been too many crashes because everything, even coming into Elco's, was great.
Yeah, it wasn't bad for me, actually.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was absolutely shocked. So I have no idea what was going on. It was, but I'm happy that it was the way it was. Now, where that all leads to is I know, and everyone knows, that Glenn is an aficionado of Volkswagen, trained on Volkswagens. That's where he's cut his teeth as a mechanic. So I'm coming in this morning, and I'm thinking a little bit about Colin Thomas. We will fix it. We used to podcast. We have not managed to get behind a mic in many months now. I think he's unhappy with that. So I know he's unhappy with that because it was one of our opportunities to have a little bit of an on-air, social psychology session.
Therapy, James.
It was therapy. Yeah, that's it. That was the word. Thank you. Thanks for jumping in there. You saved me. Anyway, I'm driving, and I'm thinking of both of you guys because right beside me is a Volkswagen Beetle, manual transmission.
Yes.
Woman's driving this thing, and I'm thinking, Colin's going to want this. But I'm also thinking, as she kind of scoots past me, that I'm looking down at the exhaust system going, oh man, this is a disaster. Who knows what they've done to it? But the sound of it was a 1980 Volkswagen Beetle air-cooled engine. It's not an air-cooled engine, but they'd rigged the exhaust. So not only did it look like a 1980s Volkswagen Beetle, but it sounded like an air-cooled Volkswagen Beetle. I had to look twice.
Maybe they'd done a retro mod on it, or the exhaust flexible joint had broken.
Yeah.
That's more likely what happened.
I mean, the exhaust was all hanging around. It was clearly something that was done who knows where. One of those back alley jobber guys did it because none of it was correct, and it would never pass RTA. So, yeah.
Well,
or it would.
Yeah. Yeah. You see, we've got the same problem on one of our vans at the minute, the one I'm using, and the engine mounting failed on it.
Oh, no.
So then the engine's rocking too much, and it just pulled the flexible joint out on the exhaust. So that needs to be fixed, and it's quite a common thing on most cars that have flexible joints in. We get a lot of issues with engine mounts here.
Yeah.
And people, how urgent is it, is always the question.
Yeah.
And, the engine's never really going to fall out, but it does cause other issues like that.
Okay, hold on a second. Engine mounts, this is what people hear a lot about. I mean, it's obvious what they do, but why are they important? How many do we typically have? How hard are they to change? Are they expensive? Give us the rundown on engine mounts.
Yeah, I mean, usually you'll get one on the left and one on the right, sometimes one on the front. It'll depend also on the configuration of the engine, whether it's inline or whether it's transverse.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll also have them that mount the gearbox in as well, but the gearbox and the engine are bolted together, so they're kind of all doing the same job. And they do what they.
So they're what connect.
Say they do.
They connect the engine to the frame, so
basically holding and mounting the engine and the transmission into the chassis of the car. But the thing is that it's the rubber component in them that fails. That's there to dampen any vibration and also to allow for some movement, because an engine will move as you accelerate it. And if you don't have that, which on things like drag cars, for example, and very high-end race cars, they don't have engine mounts that will move. They are fixed in position, because you don't want to lose torque. You don't want to have that power loss, instant power delivery, if you like. So the rubber's the part that fails, but it's kind of designed to do that. You don't really have, unless you went on and on and on and they all failed, you don't really have a risk of an engine falling out by not repairing or replacing an engine mounting, but eventually you could. But it's the other issues that may cause, because it's allowing the engine to move too far. So air conditioning hoses, coolant hoses, exhaust, even wiring, because the engine's moving further than it should, everything's being pulled tighter and tighter.
Oh, no.
That people don't have much, let's say, appreciation for the fact that electrical wiring in a car is made of copper, right? Copper's a commodity, effectively, and it's very, very expensive. So there aren't big, long lengths of slack in wiring harnesses. They're really, really pulled tight.
So if you get any play,
so the moment you're moving too much, you start to risk having damage to connectors and wiring harnesses and stuff like that. So obviously, the engine mount has a job, but it affects other things when it fails. So you're often not replacing the engine mount because it's not going to mount the engine anymore. You're replacing the engine mount because it's not mounting the engine sufficiently to prevent other issues.
Now, here's the issue: and you and DJ, any mechanic gets this probably 10 times a day. Do I really need to do this repair now?
Yeah.
And as always, that's a really awkward question to ask a mechanic, because you can obviously do some of these repairs yourself. You can let it go a little bit longer before it hits critical point. Whereas me, I'm going to have to schedule to get it in. What's my ability to understand and recognize the failure's coming or it's imminent? I mean, that's two very different things. So, cost-wise, can you wait? Well, maybe. But if you wait, as you said, it could have knock-on effects. It's not just the mount you're fixing. Then it's 5 other things, and suddenly you've got a 4,000 dirham bill.
Yeah, that's the problem. And you see something like an engine mount that might pull a electrical connection loose. There might not necessarily be even a correlation between the two. It would take you a while potentially to figure that out. And to the point of a car might come in with a weaker engine mount, and you might give the report to the customer, and the customer will ask you the question. You say, look, probably not. It's probably not that necessary right now. Let's reassess it in 6 months on the next service. 3-4 months down the line, the car might come back with a misfire, or it might come back with an intermittent non-start or an intermittent warning light for the ABS or something like that. It's going to take some, experience, I think, to put the two together and say, okay, we're going to be dealing with it, because you're going to plug it in, try and read the diagnostic code from the computer. The diagnostic code from the computer isn't going to say wiring loose, engine mount to blame. It's going to potentially say something like, there's going to, let's say, take the example of a misfire. It's going to say intermittent misfire cylinder 1. okay, so you're going to start to check the basics on cylinder 1. Has it got fuel? Has it got air? Has it got compression? Does it have a spark? In the case of a petrol engine.
That's 25 minutes right there.
You're doing all of this. You're rotating ignition coils. You're rotating ignition leads. You're rotating all of these things that you're trying to do as part of diagnosis. But as the car's sat static in the garage, and you aren't revving the engine, and the engine isn't moving as you go around corners or press the brake, nothing's going wrong because nothing's being pulled on. So these are the kind of faults that do happen, and I'm pretty sure we'll have fixed wiring issues or loose connection issues without necessarily noticing a problem with an engine mount. Now,
can you visually see these issues though, or not really?
So, what you mean the issue with the
engine mount?
Yeah. So when we do a service, you can visually see engine mounts. There are some that are sort of encased top to bottom. So there's a larger, bit like a Russian doll sort of effect where you've got something larger over something smaller. So you can't actually see the rubber component. You've got metal housing, shrouds. So what we will do on a service is when the vehicle's up in the air, we'll lower it down, and then we'll lift the vehicle on a transmission stand or something that will push the engine up. So the vehicle will be on the ramp, and then we'll lift the engine, and then we'll check for how much movement there is in that mounting. If the mountings start to come apart, we know there's a problem. A lot of them, you can see them. We've got a TT in that we had to do the transmission mount on that's underneath the battery on that configuration. Take the battery out, then you'll take the wire out, then you can see it.
Okay, hold on a second. With the TT, is the battery in the engine compartment, or is it under the seat of the car or something like that?
Yeah, that one was the one with in the engine compartment. Yeah, so it depends on the configuration, obviously, but there's always going to be something in the way from the top, because the engine mounting is going to be on the chassis, on the frame of the car, which is underneath.
If I'm sitting in traffic, as probably 90% of people who are listening to our podcast are, although there's the folks who like to listen to it at dinner time when they want to not be talking to their spouse, so they've got the earbuds in listening to us. Welcome to all of you. Hope your dinner's going well. Are there any telltale signs that I might recognize when I'm driving that, I've got an engine mount issue?
Usually the one to notice is that, especially it's a lot easier to notice here because most people are driving automatics, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So when you get to a signal or a roundabout or a traffic jam, and you've got your foot on the brake and it's in gear, you'll notice more of a vibration in the cabin.
Okay.
Now, the problem is we've had this similar conversation with noise from tyres and noise from wheel bearings. It starts to come on gradually.
Yeah.
So if you drive the car to work and from work every day, and then you use it at the weekends as well, and you're using the car every single day, you might not notice it. And then you might get in your friend's car who's got the same car and be like, your car's way smoother than mine.
Yeah.
So that's often what would happen.
I notice that all the time.
But we will sometimes, I mean, you can tell what's good for us is when your car comes into us and we get in it, we'll know. We've driven most cars in good condition to know when there's one in bad condition. There are some things
Why are you looking at me like that when you say that?
Well, there are some cars and some owners that we have to have special care and attention with. But
on a side note, I always, I do change my oil quite frequently, and there's no leaks right now in the Red Wrangler.
Why did you say that out loud?
I know, I touching wood. But when I was getting the oil changed, the guy seems to be the same guy is always there, and he I said, just put the regular oil in. He looks at me and goes, really?
Oh, no.
Okay, go with the other one because better choice. and it's not because he's trying to upsell me. He just knows.
Yeah, yeah, that's a bad idea. This oil that even they say only does 3,000 kilometers.
Yeah, no, and he says, I know you. It's like, just put the oil in.
Yeah. It's different for you now, right? Because you're less flexible time wise.
Oh, it's horrible.
Job change.
It's horrible.
So that's a big difference. Like,
just to interrupt you, was talking to DJ saying, look, I need to bring this vehicle in. And he's going, you've been saying that for like the last month.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking, okay, hold on. There's going to be the March break. I'm going to pre-book my vehicle in because I'm going to be away for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I can drop it because now it's become quite an issue because I might be going to work much earlier. If I'm leaving the house at 6:30, to catch a shuttle to Abu Dhabi at 7, it's very hard with 2 vehicles.
Yeah.
Without 2 vehicles, doing it with 1 vehicle, yeah, it's not going to happen. So now the vehicles become way more important, and finding that time to get that service is becoming hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not an easy. You sort of mentioned it before, where people will bring the car to us and we'll have a conversation with them when they say, how desperate is it? Now, unfortunately, there are some vehicles and there are some owners where you have to consider those aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
So some of our customers, so let's say, for example, we have somebody that comes in who's a pilot.
Right.
He's an airline pilot, works for Emirates. They bring the car in and it has a small oil leak on the engine. Now, they're scheduled for 96 hours flying this month, and they're doing a flight to Japan next week. Leave the car while you're flying. You're away for 4 or 5 days, sleeping either side. You don't need it for 5 days. Bring the car in. We'll do it while you're away. And we know that's going to get done because they don't need the car.
Yeah.
So you could say to them, okay, no problem, take it away and bring it back when you're next flying. We know it's going to get done within that month, right? Somebody like yourself now, it might be, if we tell James he can take his car away, when is he going to get a chance to bring it back?
Yeah.
Right? So without saying that we have to make it seem worse, we just have to have a genuine conversation of, James, if we don't do it now, when can we do it?
Yeah.
It
Absolutely.
probably will be okay for 4, 5, 6,000 kilometers. Brakes is a good one. You mentioned Colin. Colin's the same with his fleet. He knows that when his fleet are at work, they're at work. They can't earn any money if they're not at work. They can't pay staff salaries if they're not earning that money. So if the brake pads aren't going to make it to the next service, he can't afford to bring it back in. So do them now.
Yeah.
So, you might change brake pads that, if it was a regular customer's car, you'd be saying, yeah, we'll do it in 5,000-6,000 kilometers, but he can't afford that.
Yeah.
So he's got to do it now. It's in now. Let's do it now. Let's capitalize on the time. So there's always got to be a difference. An engine mount's a good one because the RTA do check them. And I've seen cars fail for broken engine mounts. And one of the problems with more modern and higher end cars, take something like an Audi S6, or let's say as an example, they have electro-hydraulic engine mounts. So
really?
they're oil filled. A lot of cars, that's just an example, a lot of engine mounts have oil in them.
Okay.
But then they are electrically controlled to change the stiffness, and they offer a resonant frequency basically to dampen out sound in the cabin. So the engine vibrates at a certain frequency. You can offer a noise cancelling effectively.
Yeah. Wow.
And they make it a heck of a smooth cabin. But
That explains why some of these Mercedes that I've been in are just, it's nothing.
yeah, but then
Don't want that to break
they're
though.
completely contained. There's no way anyone in the RTA or any technician could see if the rubber component of that had failed because they're completely encased. But when they split, they leak, and then they leak oil. So you could fail the RTA test for an oil leak, which is from the engine mount. So they are checked by the RTA.
Well, that's good.
And people do fail tests because of them. But it is one of those where you think, without any kind of prior knowledge, what do you mean my engine mount's not working? My engine's still there. Of course it's working. It hasn't fallen out. And unfortunately, that's just down to, taking that time to educate your customer and just give them a bit of an understanding, if you like, of what you're trying to do and what you're trying to save them from.
Average Toyota Corolla engine mounts, how long is it going to take me to replace a couple of them, and is it expensive?
You're probably going to be looking at 2-3 hours maybe.
Okay, that's a significant amount of time though.
By the time,
You're looking at a day.
You've got to support the engine.
Yeah.
Take one out, put a new one in, take the other one out, new one in. Then you've got to get some load on them before you torque them down.
Yeah.
It's 2-3 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Some cars, like, horrible. Range Rovers. Nightmare. You just can't get access to them. You're talking hours and hours and hours. So it does. It can be a very simple job. Taking Golf GTI for example. Nice. Myself or DJ might do one of those in 30 minutes.
Okay.
but you've got Range Rovers that might take you 7 hours to do one.
Saw a Range Rover yesterday. You just brought it up. One of the new ones where everything is flush on the outside. What a beautiful!
Nice.
I really like the old Range Rover Evokes, kind of like the 1990.
Oh, the old Vokes with the big square.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. And these new ones, but they're all flush, equally nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it pains me to say it. Me and DJ had
Me
a
too.
conversation about it the other day, but I can't think of a car on the road at the minute that looks better than a Range Rover.
No, I'm with you. And I have not been a Range Rover fan.
No.
But that vehicle, I mean, I literally had my hand going along the back windows, hoping the guy who owned it didn't come and, chase me out of the parking lot. But it was just, wow. Yeah. And it was just, you just want to touch the car. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. You wonder where you just wonder where it came from.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can still see the breed in it. You can still see that it's a Range Rover, but you just can't. The outgoing model before this one was smoother than obviously the one before, and then the one before that was, the L322 was Range Rover Sport was very sort of muscular looking. It had big bulges on the bonnet and on the headlights and stuff. But no, this one's all smoothed out, and they're not garish LED lights that you can see. They're panel lights basically.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, they look really good. Yeah,
they've really done a good job. Yeah, I haven't been in one, so I'd really like to go for a spin. But
I'd be amazed if it's anything. All of the Range Rovers have always driven well.
It's just going to be amazing.
So yeah.
And I was also looking. I go, man, that's an expensive car. As I'm putting a tarp over my Jeep.
Yeah. I mean, $750,000 for a top end one, surely. Specced up.
Oh man.
Yeah. Dirhams, obviously.
Yeah, and why wouldn't you want to have it all specced up? If you're going to drive that thing, get it all. You can live in it.
Yeah.
Oh, the good question, Joey. As I sent you that, so my brother Joey Woo Woo, who we've got to get him back on the show. He's finally realized the hack for renting vehicles in North America. It took him many years. He's been renting because of his job. He gets a rental to take him to and from work, and which I'm not quite. I mean, I guess he could drive his own, but he's a mechanic. He doesn't want to put the miles on his own vehicle, so and wear and tear. And so he's always been. We've had many car reviews from him, and of course he liked the Passat. He was not a big fan of the Wrangler, yet he had it parked in all sorts of places that a real Wrangler owner would never park their car, but he was doing that. So I think at heart he loved that vehicle, and he realized only recently that the most economical rental is a pickup. And he said it's like a third of the price of any of the other vehicles he got, any of the saloon cars that he got. And he gets a 4-door full-size pickup truck that he says if you drive it at the speed limit or just marginally above, it gets great fuel economy. And they're throwing him at him. He's going, well, this is the best thing. And he's a pickup guy because he's so short. It goes with his insecurity about height. So he likes to be in the big vehicle so that, he can be who he is. It's like, he's almost a dwarf. It's like
almost.
he's almost.
He's hoping to get there by the end of the year.
Yeah, he did say he's shrinking. So, and so he's driving. So this is leading somewhere. It's not just talking about Joey, who does listen to the program, by the way. So we will get feedback when I get this.
Yeah, you're going to get some nice feedback.
Yeah, they did audition him for Wizard of Oz. Anyway,
no.
the
Can't
stage
do
play.
That these days.
The stage
you can't
play.
Do that these days.
I know. That's why they looked at so. And the other thing he likes about the pickups, because that he is a food connoisseur of warming everything up on the dash, so it works really well. But this brought up the question of how difficult is it to get smells out of cars? And part of it is that he's warming up his food in the car, he's eating the food in the car, and then you obviously have physiological, biological functions.
Digestion's
happen, and he's questioning now if some of these things are going to be easy to clear out of the vehicle. And I thought, well, that is a very good question.
Well, one of the things that I was told by a valeter, detailer, whatever you want to call them here, was that the worst spillage you can have in a car in terms of smell and getting rid of it was orange juice.
Orange juice.
Yeah. Once that gets in there and starts to, mold, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I had assumed it would be something like milk or
Yeah,
something
me
like
too.
that.
No.
But no, he said there's no problem getting rid of milk or dairy, but it's always been orange juice that's a real issue for him. Whether it's the acidity of it and it really gets into the fibers, I don't know. But getting rid of, I mean, we've recovered. I think we mentioned it before. A cat went in and marked its territory into a customer's Wrangler.
Oh no!
We had to change the foam and the seat covers and everything on it. There was no way of getting that smell out of there.
That's why I cover mine. Although it's not covered outside, and the cat was in it the other day. I kind of noticed them walking over the dash.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping I didn't cover it today. I probably should have.
Well,
I always forget outside your place. I really should cover the car.
Yeah.
And it's not even like it takes long. It takes 25 seconds because I have it now down to an art.
Yeah.
People don't even help me when I'm undoing it because they instantly realize he's got a formula. Don't interrupt the formula.
Yeah, just don't get in his way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's
that's good. Orange juice. So anyone, again, people who are listening and driving, because who doesn't have some food and drink? And I often have my juice smoothies, and they're not even smoothie. They're just pure juice that, about 8 different kinds of things. And I've had a few times where I've been drinking it and driving and hit a bump, and fortunately it spilled all over me.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I'm thinking, oh no, if this gets on the seats, I'm doomed. Yeah, I'll never get it out. But B, who knows what this will do?
Yeah,
I'll get in it. It will just start reeking.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those problems. I remember we had a Mercedes that the customer complained about, very, very sort of very chemical type smell, and we took it to places. We changed. That car had 3 AC filters in it. Changed the filters, did an AC clean on it, cleaned the evaporator. Did all sorts of things, wet back the seats, wet back the carpets, everything. And then the detailer that we used in the end said that this was just an issue with that model, and it was the compound in the plastics breaking down.
Wow. You never think of that.
Yeah, so they gave it quite a chemically smell, and the customer sold the car in the end.
Couldn't take it. Got to get rid of this thing.
No, I mean, he's happy with what we'd done. One of the problems was that, and this was again explained to us by this guy, that some of the stuff you use to clean interiors, it can speed up that process. So there's a compound on dashboards from my background of VW that was called Soft Touch, and it's like a rubberoid paint. So the dashboard hard plastic surfaces are painted with this rubber paint, so it feels and looks a lot better. Obviously, you have to be careful with paint; it scratches off, chips off.
Yeah.
If you do it gloss, it's too shiny and it blinds you. So they use Soft Touch on it. Now the problem with Soft Touch was people would put those air fresheners in their air vents.
Oh yeah,
and then the vapors basically would melt the Soft Touch, and you get big sticky black residue everything you touched. So it went from soft touch to sticky touch just because somebody had, or people had used moisturizer or aftershave on the hands, and then they touch it with that. Sun cream was also a bad one.
I mean, these are all things, again, on any of the surfaces of your vehicle that you got to be aware of.
Yeah.
Perfumes, sunscreens, colognes.
Yeah.
They'll all strip the stuff off.
Yeah. We were clearly instructed by VW not to cover under warranty any issues with Soft Touch when the car had any kind of air freshener in it. That was it. Don't do it. And then at the point of covering it, you then had to give an information sheet to the customer explaining the use of hand creams, sun creams, aftershaves, perfumes, these kind of things would all, cleaning products when you clean your interior of your car, would all affect this. And it's like...
do you think that's still happening today with vehicles?
Yeah, we still see them now.
So this is, everyone who's driving, this is something you really need to be aware of, because they sell a myriad of cleaning products for cars that you could be damaging the finish on your car.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. 100%.
No one thinks of this.
No, but again, that to me is down to the sales executive when they sell the car new, right?
Yeah.
Or if you buy it used from a used showroom.
Well,
they
even coming into the garage, you guys just saying, hey, just beware. But maybe it should be a little box on your final, just beware. You got a surface on here that could be damaged.
That DB9 there, that is having we're doing an upgrade on the infotainment system. It's quite a common thing that we do on those.
Oh, in fact, you'll see very shortly a little short that I just did of that.
That's a
wonderful short. Just saying, you never want to come in and look at what your car's
never
being
see it
ridden,
halfway through. No,
because all you're thinking is it'll never be back
never see
together
it
without
halfway
rattling.
through. That's a 2009, I think. I think it's 2009 or 2008 or 9. Doesn't really matter. My point is, it's over 15 years old.
Yeah.
It's only done 48 or 49,000 kilometers.
Wow.
The car is parked in a shaded car parking space, an underground car parking space, and has been from day one.
Beautiful.
And all of the dashboard plastic is starting to degrade on it.
It's just heat.
The way it is. You get in the car with, you've been to the mall and tried a sun cream, or someone's tried to spray you with, perfume or whatever. It's on your hands. You press the button for turning the radio on or off when you get in the car.
Oh, hand sanitizers.
Sanitizer in the
great
last few
stuff.
years, obviously.
That stuff strips. It'll strip everything off.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. So it's it is just unfortunate that to get that finish in a car, we don't use real wood and we don't use real leather very often anymore.
It's unfortunate. Those were the days.
Yeah.
Nice Corinthian leather. The Corinthian leather.
Yeah. Well, you can't do it anymore. It's just the way it is, and there are obviously reasons for that. But recycled car interiors need things on the surface of them sometimes to make them, let's say, palatable or more comfortable for the passengers. And these surfaces often degrade very quickly.
You brought up the Mercedes with the air filtration system, and this is a good thing and a good thing. The biofuel plant in Dubai is open, and it's up by Al Warsan, and they literally, they're burning bio stuff in there to create electricity. And there is a time of the day when you drive by there. Now, I'm an avid composter, so I know what compost smells like. And I'm talking, it's my composter magnified at least 50 times. And I'm driving without windows, so I'm getting the full effect. So I'm thinking, if you need to test the air filtration system in your car, you drive out there. If you're in Dubai, you drive out past there at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're going to know if your air filtration system is working well or needs some thought.
I always get always get it when you drive down past Dragonmont and past where Desert Palm is.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a sewage works
That's
out
right there.
Yeah.
So you got the sewage works, then you got the biofuel plant right beside the sewage works, because it's clearly building. Everyone knows how a sewage factory works. They've got big screens. They collect all the solids that, the paper and other stuff. And then now they're burning all that, and they're creating electricity. So they're right beside each other. And it's like, whoa, it can be. I feel sorry for the people at Desert Palm if the wind blows the other way. It's like you wake up and it's like, woohoo.
Yeah. Well, no, you do sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not nice, but it's a necessity. Yeah. It's a necessity, isn't it?
Absolutely.
We need to do things like that for fuel. And
they try to move them. The challenge for Dubai is when the sewage treatment plant was put in, it was pretty far out of town. Now the city is caught up to it and is around it, and this just creates challenges. And I gotta take my hat off to the Dubai municipality, because they really did a fine job of, and have done a fine job, continue to, especially with the sewage treatment plant. They'll figure it out with the biofuel plant, of having filters that catch those odors that for us become a little bit annoying and a little bit harsh. And for many years, you'd hardly know that the sewage treatment plant is there unless you're living like right on it. But it doesn't sort of spread like it used to. But it's interesting times.
AC filters now, especially the charcoal ones, will do well with getting most particles and odors out and keeping them out. The problem becomes that you can get a standard paper filter as a replacement to the charcoal one.
Yeah, don't do it.
A fifth, maybe even a sixth of the price of the charcoal one.
So it's alluring. Don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, on the Mercedes we talked about, that was an ML500. Those 3 filters in there, charcoal, were about 300 and something dirham.
Yeah.
The paper ones are about 50.
Yeah. It's a big savings. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
So it's all a matter of what you want to do. And you see the charcoal filters have an antibacterial property.
Yeah.
So they can last longer in there. You see, paper filters will get damp and then they start to breed
Exactly.
mold anyway. So they're
Don't do-
filtering
yeah.
the particles, but they've got mold on them.
Don't go the cheap route. You'll always regret it later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, DJ sent me a wonderful short, and I don't know where it's coming from, but it was about how counterfeit brakes are made and how amazing they look. And he said, literally they're hand making brakes with a press, all the pieces put in, and they're not brakes. I mean, they'll work for a while, but they really it's like wow. Wow. And when they pop them out of the press that they're using and they heat it all up and it's all done, they looked I mean, to the eye, it looked like a regular brake to me. No, there's nothing regular about them.
Yeah, I was told, and I won't mention the name, but there's a very, very famous established brand here that sell aftermarket parts. They make a lot of parts for OE as well. And they had levels of quality, and one of their levels, which was determined by a colour, and I was told this by them, the back plates were recycled from old brake pads, and then they had new friction material stuck onto them.
Oh.
Cleaned up, painted.
Yeah.
It happens even with the big brands, and they just have different levels of quality to but
fit the price.
the problem is when you think you're buying a brand new OE part that's been made by the manufacturer under license of the manufacturer, and then it's actually come from 3 guys in a little furnace and a press.
Yeah.
And they've got someone to print them a fake box, and it does happen. It does happen. And to be fair, we've had the UE has a good system in place, and they do well with keeping counterfeit parts out. But it's it is an impossible task.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as you figure out a way to buy, get past it, as soon as they figure out a way to catch it, someone's already looking for the next step to get past it.
That's right. It's a cat and mouse game, unfortunately.
Well, I remember way back, even there was a big issue with shampoo, name brand shampoo. I'm not going to say what the brand was, but it's very popular. Their shampoo was being counterfeited, and it was being put in the branded containers, looked just like coming from the manufacturer, and none of it was legit, and it was in big box stores here.
Yeah,
and that's the degree that people are going to. Craziness.
Yeah,
absolutely crazy.
And people worry, rightly so, when when they hear counterfeit brakes, because everybody panics about brakes.
Yeah,
brakes aren't worth anything if you've got counterfeit tires.
Yeah,
you might as well have no brakes.
Exactly,
because your tires are the only thing that keep you in contact with the road.
Yeah,
your brakes are only as good as your tires and the contact they have with the road. So when you've got the issue with brakes, you've also got the same issue with tires, and probably more widely so, actually.
I think I'm right at the point where I need a new set of tires. You'll see when it comes in for the service next month.
Next year.
No, it's coming in March. But I actually as I was saying to DJ, I do have to go get the car inspected. So fingers crossed everything is going to get me through the inspection, and then I got a few things, because safety's first. Interesting one. BAIC. I don't know what we call that. Bake?
Yeah.
BAICUAE.com, the Chinese car manufacturer. Go check them out. BAICUAE.com. And the reason I bring this up is I got a big signboard up advertising 3 of their vehicles on, I don't know, Business Bay Crossing, but what do we call it? Is that Elk Hill Road now, or is it just Business Bay Crossing? I don't know.
I still call it Business Bay Crossing.
Okay, so maybe it's Business Bay Crossing. Literally just, if you're going towards Abu Dhabi, it's just after you've gone over the bridge. And if you're going towards Sharjah, it's just before you get over the Business Bay Bridge, and you can take a look over at Festival City. But I'm looking at these vehicles, and there's nothing bad about them. They're great price, but I'm looking at them, and when you go to the website, hit the models, and you're going to see there's all sorts of them. And what caught my attention on the signboard is the G-Wagon lookalike, the BJ80. And I said, it looks like a G-Wagon.
It does.
It does, but it doesn't, right?
As much as when you buy a Lego set.
Yeah.
to build a
Yeah.
Bugatti Veyron, it looks like a Veyron. It
Yeah.
kind of looks like a G-Wagon.
It kind of, and it's not the front that looks like the G-Wagon, it's the side.
Yeah. The silhouette.
The silhouette. And I just went, okay, I see what they're doing here. And then there's another one, the F40, which looks like the kind of like a Jimny, but it's the one that used to be sold by GM and had something that kind of looked like this. Again, from the silhouette, not the front.
Mm.
And then there's another one, this is the BJ60. This is new. Kind of looks like a Cherokee. And that really looks like a Jeep Cherokee. And then you've got the B40s, which are kind of have a Wranglerish look.
Can we just applaud? Can we just applaud their bravery? Of, there's a couple in here. There's an X7, which BMW do an X7, or if they don't, they will do. F40. Everyone knows what an F40 is, but they've gone with BJ. Can we just applaud the bravery on that, please?
Yeah.
Just waiting for the BJ69, the super sporty one.
It's coming.
Just sold to college kids in the US.
Yeah. It's
the BJ 80S or the 40S or whatever it is. The big, chunky off-road modified, looks like it's something out of Mad Max.
The BJ40 SE.
There's an S as well.
Yeah.
It just looks really, really chunky. The SE looks a little bit more stripped down, like a Sahara Wrangler or something like that. But the BJ40S looks super Mad Max. Big. I mean, that can't be legal. I don't know how that big metal bumper is going to pass an RTA inspection. Maybe that's why we've not seen one here. Because I'd have thought if those were available here, they'd been sold out.
Yeah, but it's
it's the thing is, it's the price.
Of it. Well, this is the thing. So someone said, look, they basically start when you're looking at these 79,000 dirhams to the top model is just about 280. You get the BJ80, which looks, as I said, kind of has a G-Wagonish silhouette. You're looking. I mean, that's a good price.
Yeah. I mean, the problem I have with the attitude of for the Chinese manufacturers, they did this for a while and they seemingly have come back to it. But I remember a friend of mine being in China and sending me a picture of a Landwind 7, and it was just a copy of a Range Rover Evoque, and I think that was the actual vehicle that ended up in a lawsuit,
right?
And they had to pay Jaguar Land Rover quite a lot of money and cease and desist. But they kind of stopped, but now they've gone back to it. You see these cars that are just clear copies. But my issue is, especially when you're choosing to copy a G-Wagon, why?
Yeah.
Because there's no 79,000 dirham vehicle that's going to be as well appointed or as powerful as a G-Wagon. So if you want a vehicle that looks like a G-Wagon,
get a G-Wagon.
It's not a G-Wagon when you've got it.
And I think, look, the G-Wagon appeals to a very particular clientele. I mean, you either like it or you don't.
I always feel with a G-Wagon that, are you buying the G-Wagon for yourself, or are you buying the G-Wagon so people see you in the G-Wagon?
Yeah.
So then if you're buying a copy of a G-Wagon, people know you're not in a G-Wagon. If you're worried about what people think, right? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
I've been torn over G-Wagons for a while. Sometimes I see them on the road and think they've got quite a presence. Like it's cool. It's different. But then when you go down the road and see 50 on one road test, they're not that different because everybody's got one.
Yeah.
So I'm always a little bit unsure about what I think about the G-Wagon. Then you get in one and they sound great and they go and, but there's not much room in them.
No.
They're ridiculous on fuel. So I've never really known. But I certainly don't think I'd buy a car that's trying to copy one.
Someone listening right now is either a G-Wagon aficionado, is driving one, owns one, has had one. Send a comment through on what it is you love about the G-Wagon. Send your email. We might see if we can get in touch.
What I get about the G-Wagon, they've just become a bit too ubiquitous for me. But what I get about them is the heritage of them.
Sure.
The whole utilitarian military background of them and what they represent for Mercedes and for that time when they first were built. But that's not the reason for having them now. They have 22-inch wheels and painted on tyres and That's
big engines, lots of torque.
You can't get a diesel.
You're not taking it off road either.
Yeah,
I mean you can, but I don't think too many people are taking their G
not with a
wagon
wheel
off
and
road.
tire setup when they're
No.
you're just going to damage things. But I think I get why, because like I say, I'm unsure. Different thoughts on them every time I see one. So it's obvious that there's something appealing, but it's why are the Chinese guys going back to copying stuff?
Yeah,
I'm not entirely sure. I think that's a good idea. I think that's a really bad idea.
Yeah.
And then I was driving past and it was an MG, one of the big ones. It's an RX-8 or something like that.
Yeah.
And fair enough, the company, it's SAIC that make MGs, and it's an MG, and they make a big deal about how it's this big British brand and all this. And then in the tail lights, it says SAIC LED.
Yeah.
Huge letters on the side of the tail light.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
And just highlighting the fact that it isn't an MG.
Yeah.
So what you're trying to sell it for? If you're trying to, make it a big deal out of it, just use your own brand name. Just make your own brand name up and call it the Live, Laugh, Love, like the one that we saw the other week or whatever it is. But don't try and piggyback onto the fact that it's not an MG. It never was an MG, and I never liked MGs. It's not like I'm sat here thinking,
I just like the
save
2-seaters. I just like those 2-seaters that you'd have to put the vinyl leather cover over the seats when it was raining. So yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah. Well,
the roof never fit right. I mean, I never owned one, but there was a few people around us in Canada who had them, and kind of impractical, but they always looked cool. That and the Triumph TR7s.
Yeah, I guess if that's that generation of car, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
they always just looked, everyone I would love to get a drive in one of those. But totally impractical.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see the Cutlass outside?
Yes. Oh, man, I'm going to go to
68.
Oh, it's lovely. There's a Buick Special parked around the corner from me. I think it's a 71, and just beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. But a Cutlass. Everyone loves a Cutlass.
Oldsmobile.
Yeah, Oldsmobile Cutlass. Everyone loves an Oldsmobile. Man, those are the days.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people owned Oldsmobiles going, right through the lines. Just that's a plush mobile. That was competing with your Lincolns and stuff.
The seat base on the back bench, it's a front bench as well. So you can't adjust the seat.
And to be honest, I want to go back to the bench seat. I love that because then your loved one can squeeze right up against you. You got 3 seats in the front with your seat belt, lap belts, no over shoulder.
Yeah.
But it can come right up. You can put your arm on the seat. You could drive. Then you're driving rodeo. You got your arm around your honey,
right, and then you've got your beer cooler in between, which is typically what happens, isn't it?
And the whole thing is on the tree. All the shifter is on the tree. We're not talking, these crazy things where it's on the floor. We're talking. It's just nice. I remember a friend way back when had an AMC Gremlin. I still love those cars. And there's nothing redeeming about a Gremlin. It was 3 on the tree. That was it. A 3-speed on the tree.
What a driver's car.
If you haven't ever heard of a Gremlin, look it up. AMC Gremlin. There's nothing good about that car, but every time I see one somewhere, it's just like, I just want one of those.
That's the sort of squash station wagon thing,
yeah,
isn't it?
literally. And there's a myth. My Uncle Joe has told me he's got a myth. He's told me that he knows somebody whose child owned one of these. The child passed away, and the car is still sitting in their barn. And he keeps teasing me about it, saying, and every now and then it'll come up, say, I know someone who's got a Gremlin. It's like, I want that Gremlin. And it never materializes, and I never get invited to see this thing. But I just have this affinity for, and there'd be zero fuel economy on it, nothing good about it, but it would just be, I got a Gremlin. Finally.
Get one, James. That's your car.
That's my car.
Yeah.
And I would, well, the other one is, there's another good in it, and this is either a love or a hate relationship, is Nickelback, the band.
Yeah.
You either love them or you hate them. I don't know. They got a new album out.
Really?
It came out last year. Yeah, came out last year. If you like Nickelback, you're going to love the album. If you don't like Nickelback, you're going to hate the album. But what was interesting is, and there's one of the songs is kind of a play on one of their other songs that they did, the thinking back to when things were and blah, 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 blah. But the cover of the thing, it's got an old van on it, which made me think of the vans that you got. It's literally a 1985 Chevy painted on the outside. Just
They were big, those things as well. Wide.
Yeah.
Really wide, tall.
Tall, wide, just we owned one of those. Chevy 10.
Yeah, they were good. They were.
Had a fridge.
Yeah.
Had a sofa. Had Captain Swivel chairs.
Yeah.
The table.
Yeah, there you go. Everything you need.
And I'm trying to think, we had the sofa in the back. I don't think there's any seatbelts for that sofa.
No.
It's like you just take your life into your own hands in that machine.
No seatbelts there. No seatbelts. See, they were made for long straight roads, though.
Yeah.
Don't need seatbelts, do you?
Just,
No stopping.
No stopping. No brakes, all gas.
Yeah. No, that's right, though, isn't it?
Sunroof.
That's what people forget about.
Those side windows with shades. It was...
People forget about it. And, like, the North American continent is so vast.
Yeah.
Canada, America, everywhere's just got long straight roads. You can sit in the back of a Winnebago and not have a seatbelt on. It doesn't matter, because for 16 hours, nobody's slowed down.
The best one is, and anyone listening who is familiar with the prairies, Saskatchewan, Alberta, is they're just too nice out there. They do you no favor, but they're being nice. So you're driving on the road and you're coming up behind someone, and they just want to let you pass. So they get over on the shoulder. Now they fire up all the stones at you, crack your windshield, but
yeah,
but they want to get out of the way so that you can just keep going on your way. It's hilarious, absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway, on that note, Glenn, we gotta.
We've done our business for the day.
We've done our business for the day. We've got to close down the podcast. Thank you, everyone who's joined us. Please leave a comment. Get involved. You got questions, queries, comments. You know how to do it. Folks over at 100.3 who are listening, get in touch. Let us know what's going on. And I know we keep threatening this. I think we're going to go into the studio and do a live show at least once.
Love it.
I think Digby would be very happy if we rocked up.
Let's do it.
And I think anyone who'd be listening would be going, what's going on here? Is it real people? Not that we're not real, but they're live in the studio?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so we'll work on that. And again, thank you very much. We'll do it all again really soon. This is the PowerWorks podcast. My name is James Piecowye. He is
Glenn Power.
Thank you.